Welcome to Kerrigan Advisors Client Interview Podcast Series. We are excited to share with you the many insights that we gain from our amazing clients and their experience in selling their dealerships. I am so honored to have with us today on our client podcast a very dear client, someone I've known actually since founding Kerrigan Advisors in 2014, and that is Carey Hamilton. Carey has had an incredible career and continues to have an incredible career in auto retail with 44 plus years in the business, becoming one of the youngest and only female dealers back in 1982 with Chevrolet in Kearney, Nebraska. And we were very honored to represent Carey and Brian Hamilton in the sale recently of their 3 dealerships in Bellevue, Nebraska, which is a suburb of Omaha. And those were Subaru, Chevrolet, and Hyundai. And those dealerships sold to the Maurice Automotive Group, which is one of the growing regional consolidators in the Midwest. So, Carey, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I know everyone's going to be really interested to hear about your legacy in the car business, your family's legacy, and just your overall perspective on this industry we all know and love.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I so enjoyed working with you, Erin, on the sale of our businesses and appreciate all you've done for us. But yes, we have been in the car business for over 100 years, which is amazing. I'm fourth generation. My grandfather and my great-grandfather and my great-uncles started in small towns in northern Kansas. And then after the war, after World War II, my dad and my uncle joined them in Mankato, Kansas. And then my uncle and dad moved to Nebraska. My dad first had
a warmer climate.
Yeah, much warmer. Moved to Oxford, then to larger markets, buying and selling a number of dealerships so that he could move into larger markets, and then eventually setting down in Bellevue in 1971. My dad always joked that he had to keep moving because the wreck came due. And then after I graduated from college, which took me 8 years because of kids and moving with my husband's business, Brian and I bought our first store in Grand Island, Nebraska in 1982.
And at that time, how many other women dealers were there? Because you were named the dealer when you guys, I understand, sold everything you had to buy that dealership.
Everything we had, cashed in 401k, sold our house. We started with nothing other than $100,000 my dad loaned us, and then loans from Motors Holding, which is a financing arm of General Motors. So we started with that in Grand Island. And yes, I was one of the very few female dealers in the country. And I was only 29. And so I didn't know how much I didn't know, but it was a success.
I mean, that is just incredible. I can imagine there were many a times when you walked into meetings and the dealer councils and people did double takes that you were the dealer.
That's very true.
I would imagine.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. I was an anomaly. I was treated really well, though, because my father had such respect that some of that respect carried over onto me. So I think I had it easier than perhaps many others would have.
Well, you buy these dealerships, you have little kids, you're running these dealerships. And then, sadly, your father passes away in, I think, 1992.
Yes.
That's right. And then you and Brian buy out your brother, and now you have a much larger enterprise. You're moving to the big city of Omaha from where you were operating. How did that transition go?
Well, it went really very well. My brother had liked the business when he worked with my father, but after my father passed, it just wasn't fun for him. And so we used the same attorney and knew that our love for each other was far stronger than money and business. And so we had a very good transaction, loving transaction, when I bought uh, the family store in Bellevue.
That is really wonderful. As you probably know, many dealers today are going through those kind of transactions as their enterprises get bigger and the next generation does pass away. And so it's always heartening to hear of those success stories in the business. And I think for the most part, auto retail has been successful in those transitions, obviously, since so many groups are in the second, third, fourth, and even fifth generation. So then you own the Chevrolet store and you decide to expand. And tell us a little bit about adding Subaru and adding Hyundai. How did that come about?
Well, it was the year after we went to Bellevue, which was 1995. And my husband negotiated with the Subaru dealer and purchased it, which was probably the best decision we've ever made in our life outside of family things. It was it was a great decision. And so we continued to grow it, and Subaru's just a wonderful company to do business with. And then 5 years ago, we purchased the Hyundai dealership from a dealer in Bellevue that's just down the street from us. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, you built such a wonderful group, and now you're retaining the stores that you have in Kearney.
Kearney. In Kearney, yes.
Sorry, Kearney. You're retaining those stores, so you'll have a foothold in, and yet you decided ultimately to sell the larger platform in Omaha.
That's correct.
You just sharing everything about your career and your success in the industry. You've had a lot of leadership roles. I know you've had leadership roles in the councils. You've been on 20 groups. Brian represented Nebraska for NADA. What did those leadership roles mean to you, and what are you going to miss about that part of the business?
Well, the good news, the 20 group, we will remain in because of our Kearney stores. I mean, we have lifelong friends there, third generation members. So we get to keep that. Brian loved his time on the National Automobile Brewers Association board. The different trips to Washington, D.C. to talk to our congressional delegation, knowing that you have an impact in keeping strong dealer networks in every state. That was important. And I loved sitting on dealer councils because you can let the manufacturers know what's right and wrong about many of their policies and products. So it's good to have their ear.
Well, that brings us to a question that we were interested in hearing about, which is, with that in mind, having all that history in the business and serving on councils and serving at NADA, I'm curious, what do you see as the bigger challenges that the industry is facing, especially related to the changes we're seeing with, in some regards, government regulation? You have the FTC situation going on right now. I'm sure through your NADA contacts, you hear a lot about that. And also the Chinese, the risk factor of the Chinese coming into the U.S. What are your thoughts on the challenges that the industry faces right now?
They are not small challenges. Having the Chinese come into the U.S. will be a huge competition because of their price point. But the fact that they would not be coming in as a dealer with dealerships there to serve the customers would not be good for the customers, I don't believe. The government regulations continue to increase. You spend so much of your time just complying with the legislation, the workshops you go to, the seminars you go to make sure that you're on top of everything. And thank heavens for NADA's advice that they continue to give us and knowing how to deal with them, but they're extremely burdensome.
Yeah, and then you have AI. Have you guys dabbled at all in AI yet? Are you looking at how you can employ it in the business now?
Absolutely. You know, there's so many AI tools vendors are selling to us that make our jobs easier, and that's going to continue. It's going to streamline so many administrative jobs, a lot of some standard communication. It's really going to be an asset there. But to me, one of the most precious assets that you have in the dealership are your technicians, and they are wonderful. And they will continue to have a job because we need their expertise. We need their hard work. And I don't see how AI can replace the most valuable employees that you have.
I understand there are AI solutions though that enable technicians to sort of learn on the job to some degree, or show the AI can look at what's going on and tell them step by step in their ear how to fix
And
something.
we
So that's
have,
exciting.
yes, and we have used that in training some of our younger techs that are coming up. I think those are very helpful.
Especially since techs are so that's the hardest job to hire for, right? There's limited supply and high demand. Where do you see AI playing out on the sales side?
Different ways that we could streamline the process so that the time burden that customers have is shortened, that we can make it more efficient, that we can make sure that many of the burdensome regulations we have to comply with are automatically fed up to us to show to our customers. That after sale point of sale, I think will be helpful to the customers and helpful to us to make sure that we do things correctly. And customers already love going online and shopping for cars and comparing cars.
Oh, 100%. It is interesting when you think about AI and how it's going to transform all business. I mean, we think about it here at Kerrigan Advisors, how it's going to transform our business, and still haven't figured out how to get it to write the Blue Sky Report. So that's still an endeavor that I lead. But um, the it's interesting to think about. This kind of dovetails into a question I have: is you look at your group or any private group with technology becoming such a big part of the business, is that going to make it harder for families or small groups to compete with maybe bigger groups that have full IT departments? We're not talking about people that fix your computers. We're talking about people that it's IT strategy. What are your thoughts on that as AI becomes a daily or hourly topic in our industry?
I, I think that will be a disadvantage for smaller group dealerships, but not only in AI, but in HR to have the expertise and the financial, the HR, the marketing, to have that kind of expertise. You need to spread those costs, expenses over quite a number of dealerships for it to make sense. But I think you need to do that.
Yeah. And how much did that play into, or maybe you could share with us a little bit about why you and Brian ultimately did decide to sell the stores in Omaha?
We ultimately decided to sell because we have two lovely, wonderful daughters who have no interest in taking over the operations of three dealerships. And we felt that the best thing to do for our family is not to force them after we are gone to sell the dealerships because it's such a complex process. And I think it would not be fair to them to have to do that themselves. It was a very difficult decision because I love this business so much. I love doing what my family has done for so long, but it was a kind and it was a good decision for our family to make. I feel very comfortable with our decision.
And so it was really a family decision. It sounds like
Yes,
the
it was.
whole family decided this is the right thing for us to do now.
That's right. I love the business. I love how it
Well, and
changes
you're
all the
staying
time.
in it, so that's
And I'm staying in it, which is wonderful.
and how will you manage the stores that are in Kearney? Will you?
Uh, we already have general manager and fixed operations manager, CFO. So we already have all of that in place and have been regularly visiting the Carney stores.
That's great. And in many regards, the Kearney stores are an example of stores that probably are not going to be as impacted by consolidation because it's a smaller market than whereas Omaha, it's a major metro,
That's right.
and so as we think about consolidation as a firm, we see consolidation really happening in a big way in the major metros and not as much, frankly, in the smaller rural towns. And I think your strategy is just on point because you can keep those, stay in the business, go to your 20 group meetings, and
Yes,
sort of have the best of both worlds in that regard.
I agree.
So when you decided to sell, what was most important to you? And you share this with me, but if you could share it with everyone here, what was most important to you when you thought about who would be taking over the legacy of these stores and 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 your business and your employees? I mean, how did you and Brian and the whole family who worked in the business think about it?
The we are happy to be in the Midwest. We like dealing with Midwest people. And we wanted someone who had transparent pricing, who valued their employees, and who were very active in the community. And so when you brought forward the Maurice group to us, and I did a lot of research through their websites and through news articles on them, I felt that they embodied the same values, the same Midwestern values that were so important to Brian and me.
And you are so involved in the community. I mean, you've received community awards. There's a whole section of University of Nebraska in Omaha with your names on it. I mean, you really have leaned into the community, and it sounds like that is what Maurice does as well. So that is exciting for you all. Will you and you'll I presume you'll continue to do that community work as well.
Absolutely, we would.
Yeah. And so what was most surprising to you when about the sale process? Just what did you not expect? What met your expectations in terms of okay, this is how I think this is going to go. I think it's valuable because a lot of families and dealers, as they think about selling, there's a lot of trepidation, and it's I think it's helpful to hear from someone who's gone through it, and maybe you could just share with us um, how it went and what surprised you, what you found challenging, what you found easier than you thought.
We have purchased and sold quite a number of dealerships through our years, but they've been single dealerships. They haven't been a group, and we've never sold to a group before. We've only sold individually. And so what was surprising to me was the sheer amount of due diligence that was required. That really surprised me. It was very burdensome, and I have to say huge thanks to Kerrigan, to you, Erin, with Chris and Max and Juan, and how they so lifted up that burden and helped me so much every step along the way, because uh, that was the part that surprised me, how intensive and extensive due diligence was.
Yeah, it is true. I mean, I always share with our clients, when you buy stores over time or you sell one store over time, that's there's smaller dollars or smaller transactions, but when you sell the whole kit and caboodle, you sell like three big stores, the price tag's much larger and the due diligence is much more significant
Right.
because it's just
Understandably.
understandably, and with that comes a lot of work, and we always strive to take the work off our clients and manage all of that, because as much as possible, obviously we can't go into your files and pick everything out, but we try and do the most we can, because you're busy running a business. So I'm glad. Thank you. I will let Chris Gempton and the team know that
Yes,
you
please.
appreciated all of their help and all that heavy lifting that had to get done. One of the things that surprised me, or you and I know about this on your transaction, is that one of the OEMs was very slow in the approval process, as you know, and that is one of the challenges, right, of multi-dealership transactions. You have to get everyone approved, and it's like herding cats with these OEM buy-sell approval processes. As we discussed, one of them was just for reasons that were unclear, holding out. So we did have to pull a pretty crazy thing and call the most senior person that we know at this OEM and try and get that approval done quickly, which happened. But that was one of the things that surprised me about your transaction, was just we did have a holdout with one of those OEMs, and so that pushed out the closing, which is always a little frustrating.
Well, I was very thankful for your connections.
Oh, well, we try not to do it unless we have to, but when it was required to call the global head of sales for an OEM, we will do that to get the approval.
Thank you.
So, and we have to ask this, what caused you to pick our firm? Why did you pick Kerrigan Advisors? I know you've been in the industry a long time, so would love to hear your thought process there. I mean, I know we've known each other for some time as well.
Well, we met, our mutual friend introduced us at a lovely dinner in California. I think it was not long after you had started your business.
It was literally 2014. It was right after we had started it.
Yes. And we liked you and Ryan. We felt comfortable with you. You're not Midwest people, but you have the same straightforward, friendly values that I felt that we had. So it only made sense to us to talk to you.
Got it. Well, and actually, Ryan will be disappointed you say that, because he's from Minnesota, so he is Midwest people. So I'm not. I'm from California, but so we're half Midwest people. But yes. And we were really honored that you chose our firm, and we're glad that you've been pleased with the whole process. I'm curious what you and Brian are going to focus on now. I know you've done a ton of travel, it seems like, already since the closing, which makes me so excited for you. What's on the docket now that the dealerships in Omaha are sold?
We're just so much more relaxed. But, we don't have that. Oh, I'm just so happy. We're both so happy. It's just being able to go out during the day and enjoy the day, enjoy the sunshine, travel, spend more time with friends and family, just enjoy life even more.
Well, you're like an advertisement for selling your dealerships, because you look so happy. You don't miss the compliance and
no.
Well, that's really wonderful, and we were just honored again to work with you and Brian. And I did miss the closing dinner, so I'm going to have to get back to Omaha and take you all to some good Omaha steak, because I do want to celebrate in person. However, in the meantime, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the opportunity to work with you both. And I'm excited that you're still in the car business, because I'll get to see you still, and wish you guys all the best for a very successful 2026.
Thank you. And the same to you.
Thank you for tuning in to Kerrigan Advisors Client Interview Series. We look forward to sharing future interviews with you and learning more about our clients' experiences in selling their businesses and their thoughts on the ever-evolving auto retail industry. Thank you.